Welcome to Hair Metal Chaos Live with the Guru and Rachelle. My name is Anthony. They call me the Guru, and Stevie Rachelle is waiting in the wings. But welcome to episode number 12. We are officially celebrating 3 months of doing this, and the support we have received from all of you has been amazing. The last 2 weeks, we had us live at the Rainbow Bar and Grill, and then last week we recapped my week in Los Angeles, as well as the tough shows at the Whiskey A Go-Go and the private party at Nightingale Studios. And when we get Stevie in here, we're going to talk about some cool things that will be happening in the next couple of weeks. But tonight, we're going back to the basics because we are just talking about all things happening in the world of hair metal. We'll also be taking your questions. So thanks for being here. And remember, you come for the hair metal, but you stay for the chaos. And the chaos begins right after this.
Metal Chaos with the Guru and Rachelle.
And Charlie is very happy to be so popular on YouTube. And let's get Stevie in here because he's almost as popular as Charlie. Hold on. Charlie wants to say hi here. She's sitting here right here. She's all like bumping up against my stuff because you're so pretty. They're right. And everybody like you so much. Anyway, Stevie, welcome back for another episode, our 12th one live here.
Wow, number 12 already. Anthony, good to see you, and good to see everybody out there in Wonderland. I'm in Chatsworth, California. Man, it's been hot. It's been 100 degrees for basically about 2 weeks now. Anywhere between like 95 and 105 every single day. It's super hot. So
Today when I went to basketball, it was like 50 degrees in the morning, and that sucks. And it
50?
makes me
Wow.
Yes. Now like today it was like 73, but it makes me miss Los Angeles. I'm going to be honest. When it gets to be wintertime, I'm going to be like, fuck me. So anyway, LA and aren't even the winters, like what is the temperature like in the winter in Los Angeles?
Well, it's weird because LA is so spread out. There's like 5 different weather patterns happening within 100 square miles. That's why when you watch the news, they'll have mountain weather, beach weather, city weather, valley weather, inland empire weather. There's like 5 or 6 different weather charts they'll show, and it's literally a difference. I was actually showing this to Schneids and Dougie when we were coming back from the whiskey after our show. It's like midnight or 1 in the morning. When we left the whiskey, it was about 80, I think it was like 84 at night, because it was like 100 and some during the day. So like later then it was like, maybe it was 78 or something. So when we left, it was like 78. And when we got on the 405 and we started coming down into the valley, the temperature dropped like 6 or 8 degrees within 5 minutes just from going down into the valley. It was a little cooler. In the summer, it can be hotter during the day, and it also could be cooler at night. So, but I guess to answer your question, when you're freezing and it's like 10 degrees out, it's probably pretty much 65 or 70 here every single day.
Well, we have 2 weathers here. We have 2 weathers here in North Dakota. Winter and road construction is essentially what we have here. It's a bunch of bullshit. So, but like when I was in Iraq, it was like 120 in the summer, and then it was like 70 in the winter. And it was not like you were like fucking cold. I was like, holy shit, because you'd been used to these crazy temperatures. Anyway, nobody ever told me that we'd be talking about the weather on Hair Metal Chaos Live. So let's get rid of that shit. We have 150 people here already in the first couple minutes. That is awesome. And I want to acknowledge some people that we already got a ton of comments, and I've already seen some funny shit here. So I got a couple of comments to get to before we kind of start getting into our 3 things that have been going on in Metal Sludge and Hair Metal Chaos Live. So my buddy, the CD 5150, thanks, man. He said, hey, Anthony, thanks for playing my request on Hair Metal Mansion last Saturday. Thanks for what you do, and thank you for your service. No, thank you for supporting everything that I do. And dude, just message me on X and tell me what you want to hear. I'm always going to try to get your requests in. So but thank you for the super chat. And what did you do? Another one? Love to see a video on Van Halen's Fuck or Balance records. The former is my favorite Van Halen album, full stop, and the latter is their last great LP. So, we've talked about doing the Fuck record on the channel, so you might see a review of that. So, Stephanie Mandel says, what is it? Stephanie, tell me what this 550 joules thing is, because I have no clue what these joules things are. Did Stephanie type stay hydrated? I have no clue. But Stephanie, welcome. That's Stevie's girlfriend. And I have another comment coming up from her. But George Scarvellis is here from Australia at 9:45 a.m.
On a Wednesday.
Shit.
On a Wednesday. So, what's up, George? And what's up, CD5150? And what's up? What was her name again?
Stephanie Mandel?
Oh, yeah. Stephanie Mandel.
Hey,
Rhymes
Stephanie, Stevie was telling me before we went live that how lucky you were to date him, and that how lucky you are because you get to bang him. Anyway, that's what he said. I'm just spreading the word.
I actually did say that, Stephanie.
He said that. Here, Joe Dolenza is here. He says, "Hey, Anthony and Stevie, you make my Tuesdays." Man, thank you. You make our Tuesdays by being here. George Larson.
Thank you, Joe.
George, sorry, Stevie, I got to let you chime in here. I got to shut the fuck up.
Good.
Charlie, tell me to shut the fuck up. George Larson says, Stevie, I found the first Tough record on YouTube and it still rocks. I played that cassette all the time back in the day.
It never gets old. It sounds kind of, people say, oh yeah, we like your songs or something, and I guess sometimes people take it for granted. But when anybody tells me they like a song or they like a video or it's a good feeling. And what's weird to me is that I can go back in time and I can remember where, with certain songs, where I wrote lyrics for it, or where we recorded it, or where we were like writing the idea, whether it was in the apartment or in a rehearsal studio, because we'd been in a bunch of studios, what time frame it was when I was in the band, or what year. So it's always a good feeling when people, and coming full circle here, even in the last, now it's 3 months we've been doing this, and people logging on and saying that they're having fun, or people commenting to us outside of today. You get messages, I get messages, I get merchandise orders all the time, because I'm always plugging, hey, I'm going to give you some free stuff, and people always go, dude, I love you and the Guru, you guys are awesome, love the show. By the way, sign this one to my buddy Tim or Julie or whatever, and then I sign and add some goodies. But it's a great thing to get acknowledged for your work, whatever that is.
If there's any regret that I have, and people trust me when I legitimately feel bad, is I know that a lot of people who reach out to me on social media, I don't always get to, and whether, because you got Instagram, you got 2 Facebook accounts, you get messages on videos, you got X. So if I miss you, I really do apologize, because I always want to acknowledge people. Okay, this is funny, because here is a comment that says LFG, which I know means let's fucking go. But last week I was always calling this guy Sofa King High.
Which I was too. And then we realized it's so fucking high.
And then Stephanie Mandel says, Sofa King. I had to tell Anthony what your handle actually meant. Am I froze? No, okay, I'm okay. But she texts me and she goes, Anthony, it stands for so fucking high. I'm like, how embarrassing that I did not realize that Sofa King High is so fucking high. So stupid. So anyway, so fucking high. Thank you for being here. And here, we'll get through a couple more comments, and we'll and then we'll get into what we're doing. Go ahead, Stevie.
I got a comment with that. There was a punk band in Wisconsin from Milwaukee back in the early mid 80s called the FAQ2s.
The FAQ twos.
Twos.
Fuck you two. Is that
The fuck you twos. The
okay.
FAQ twos. And I remember somebody said that, and I was just like, "What are they called?" And he said they're called the FAQ twos. And I was like, and then I thought about it. I was like, the fuck you twos. What a great name.
I remember the movie Dazed and Confused.
Right.
The guy, they had the paddles and they would beat the freshmen, but one of the guys, they all wrote something on their paddle, and the one guy his says "fuck you," and yeah. So anyway, I kind of knew what that meant, but so fucking high says, "Hey Guru, I understand you finally get my name now. I'm truly embarrassed that I didn't get it before, dude. Thank you. He's here every week, man, and all these people that come back every week. You guys are the best." We have there's a couple more super chats, but I think we should get into what's going on in hair metal news on Metal Sludge, on Hair Metal Chaos. And then as we're doing this, guys, I'm going to try to keep my eye on comments. But if you have comments or suggestions about things happening in hair metal that maybe we don't get to, let me know, because we'll give you our opinions and obviously ask questions. So Stevie, what's happening on Metal Sludge this week?
Well, for starters, it was kind of a slow couple weeks for me. Am I still there? It
Yep.
was still kind of it was kind of a slow couple weeks because the week you came into town, I think I did an update or two on Monday or Tuesday, but I didn't touch the site the rest of the week. So busy. Tuesday I'm picking Dougie up at the airport, and then we're doing the show live at the Rainbow. Wednesday was rehearsal. Thursday was the whiskey. Friday was the VIP party. Saturday was more running around with Schneiden's Dougie and taking Dougie to the airport. So by the end of the night on Saturday, I was wrecked, and me and Stephanie stayed home and watched some fights and chilled. Then last week, my server had to have an upgrade, or I should say my editor. We had to do some back-end work. So there wasn't any updates last week, and I had to kind of get a little tutorial from my webmaster to give me a once-over on how to update. But I did. And I put up a couple articles this week. One thing I covered, which I thought was really cool, was that I was actually really surprised. I was surprised to see Blackie Lawless came out through social media in support of Chris and wrote a nice message. And I know there was a bunch of people going, "Oh, if you gave him his royalties back, he'd have money to." But let's look at the bright side. Blackie hasn't said anything remotely positive about Chris in some time. They've kind of been at each other. The fact that Blackie came out and wrote that, he also referred to him as an OG, like an originator from WASP. I thought that was really cool of Blackie. He obviously has a big reach, signed it with his initials, and it was very supportive of Chris. And so I covered that little tidbit on Sludge. And, hey, I hope Chris is going to be okay. He's in his late 60s. Health problems, are catching up with us, whether people had, bad habits in the past, sometimes for 2, 3, 4, 5 decades, even if you clean up, some of that stuff is going to catch up with you, and life catches up with us, but let's just hope that Chris is going to be okay. And I thought it was really, really cool that Blackie and the WASP platforms all were in support. And I would also believe this, that I think probably secretly, somehow, some way behind the scenes, I wouldn't doubt that Blackie has somehow, we can only hope, reached out and given some type of support. Whatever way that is, I would think that he had.
Right. Me and Patrick did a video. We encouraged people to give to his GoFundMe. I know we did a little bit, but even if you can't donate money, you can share the GoFundMe. You can let people know. Because I had Chris on for an interview. I've talked about just how friendly he was, asking about Charlie, showing his dog. I mean, the guy, he's a good guy, and Father Time is undefeated. So we do what we can to help out. So that's that. I was gonna say that's awesome. It's awesome that Blackie came out. But hopefully Chris, I know he was so excited about this terminal project with these guys from Tesla. So hopefully he gets the chance to do all that stuff that he wants to do.
Agree.
So, I was going to talk about the first thing that I was going to mention. Where the fuck are my notes? Was on I put out on Saturday. So when I was in LA, I met Tommy London, the Sirius XM personality. He was
Awesome.
hosting the $5 rock concert. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but at the Viper Room. So we went there after the Tough show at the Whiskey and introduced myself. And he was like, man, I love your stuff. We exchanged numbers. He texted me like a few days after I got home and was like, hey, I'd love to take you up on your invite to come on. He and his girlfriend Britt Lightning from Vixen came on because they have a new band called the Jet Setters, and they just put out their first single, Above the Noise. So we kind of talked about their careers, how Britt ended up in Vixen. Tommy London had been in earlier bands, how he ended up on Sirius XM. And then we promoted this Jet Setters project, and they put out their video on Sunday. So it's a really cool song. It's really power pop, pop rock. So it's great. So I interviewed them. They came on for about 40 minutes and were really cool. So everybody should go check out that Jet Setters song, Above the Noise, and check out that interview.
Yeah, I watched that interview, and I know Tommy and I know Britt. Oddly enough, Stephanie and I ran into them. My screen keeps going black. Am I still there? I'm not fading out, man.
No, you look fine.
I know.
No conceit in his family because he got it all.
Yeah, so Stephanie and I went to some bar. I think it was, a restaurant, not a bar. I think it was in like Calabasas. And we ran into Britt and Tommy, and we chatted. And we've seen them at a couple of events. Great people. Tommy's awesome. Britt's awesome. And I actually watched that video a couple times. It's actually a cool song. And I thought the video idea was kind of cool. They kind of have like an MTV old school kind of throwback vibe to it. And great people. I'll be doing something on the Sludge with that as well. Tommy's a great guy. Britt's awesome. And I thought it was cute how they were talking about how they met, And,
right.
And for all who don't know, I'll show you exactly what was the point of breaking the ice for Tommy to approach Britt.
Yep.
He walked on the stage. He saw her setting up her stuff. I think it was at M3, and he wanted to talk to her. So he was kind of standing close to where she was, and she was setting up all her gear. And he said, "Hey, is that an Eddie Van Halen pedal?" And it would have been amazing if she would have said, "Dumb shit. What do you think it is?" But it was, and she thought it was very cute, and so that's what his opening pickup line was. Hey, is that an Eddie Van Halen pedal full of black and white and red stripes? I thought it was great.
I don't know if she said what her response was, but it was probably like, yeah. And they ended up dating after that. The Hard Rocking Trivia Show says Britt Lightning, Hubba Hubba. Beautiful woman. Go check out the Above the Noise video. Yeah. She's talented. He's a good singer, so it's a great song. What's the next thing that you covered on Sludge?
The next thing I covered on Sludge, which is something I actually knew about for a little while, because I can sometimes keep secrets. My friend Wednesday had told me that he had something cool in the works, and obviously the news dropped over the weekend that him and John 5 are doing a project together. John 5 and the Creatures, when he goes out on tours, he was always doing instrumentals with I guess a guitarist and a bass player, and John would do all kinds of cool medleys of the artists he worked with, which, he worked with Roth, Rob Zombie, Manson, now Motley. He's been around, and he's had a lot of affiliation with some really great artists, but he wanted to put together a project where he could have a front man and a singer, and it ends up being Wednesday.
What?
I think it's a great mix. When John 5 and the Creatures featuring Wednesday 13. They just announced their first show, which is going to be a show at the Wacken Open Air Festival next summer, which massive festival. Even if they're playing at 3 or 4 in the afternoon, they'll probably be playing in front of 50,000 people, minimum. So awesome for them.
Yeah.
Very cool.
When Wednesday 13 is kick ass. That dude loves this scene, and his music isn't like, it's almost like uh industrial mixed with hard rock and punk. I fucking love Wednesday 13 stuff. I'm
Right.
planning on going to see Wednesday 13 when he comes to Lincoln, Nebraska. I have a cool friend in Nebraska, so we might go see that show. So I'm pumped about that shit. Awesome. Yeah. So it's exciting to see that combination. The next thing I was gonna talk about was I did an interview with Big John Murray,
Yep.
who is a former Marine. He worked security and was a personal assistant for bands like Poison, Kid Rock, Saliva. But he really kind of shot to fame when he was on the Rock of Love
Rock of Love.
reality series with Bret Michaels. So that interview was almost 3 hours long. I mean, and the guy is super well spoken. He dealt with a lot of addiction issues. He talked about how he kind of got addicted to the fame of being on Rock of Love,
Yep.
how that addiction to fame hurt some of his relationships. He ended up having a heart attack and had to have a heart transplant. So now he's like a speaker, somebody who promotes organ donations, and the guy has really come a long way. He served overseas in Somalia, so I thought it was a fantastic interview with Big John.
I watched it as well. I've known John for years. You know, he's always a very nice guy. He's very friendly, very accommodating, good man. And yeah, I knew a bunch of that story. Not all of it, but you know, I remember when he was going through some of his health stuff. At some point, we communicated a little bit. I mean, I can't even imagine. You know,
Yeah,
having a heart issue to that level is no joke. You know,
yeah.
very serious stuff. So kudos to John.
It was funny. He was talking about working for Kid Rock, and I had heard that like Kid Rock encouraged him to drink, and he goes, yeah, sometimes Kid Rock could be, or Bob would be partying, and he'd say, hey, Big John, 3 beers or 2 shots. You got 5 minutes to do which one you want, or else you're fired. And he'd be like, all right. So
Right.
there was a lot of humor in that too, but a lot of serious stuff. So really cool interview. So what's your third thing that you got to talk about for Sludge?
Well, the third thing I'm going to talk about is my friend Sally Steele from Vegas. She has a magazine called Vegas Rocks, and each year she does an annual like award show. And I made a couple notes here. I'm going to do a little article on it this week. It's actually September 20th. It's the 8th annual Vegas Rocks Magazine Music Awards. And she always has a bunch of celebrities there, you know. And when I say that, you know, this industry is full of, I guess, 80s guys, which we could call celebrities. Some of them might be a little lower down the totem pole than others. But I mean, she's had the who's who of guys at her events, you know, everybody, including a lot of guys that always lived in Vegas, you know, Vince Neil, Sebastian Bach. And there's always, you know, Vegas Rocks magazine is, I guess, essentially kind of like what Rock City News or BAM or Hollywood Rocks were in the Hollywood scene back in the 80s and 90s. And she's had that magazine for some time now, for I'd say probably 20 years maybe or more. But these
Right.
awards shows have been going on this will be the 8th one. She does it in the fall. And it's always the who's who is there, you know, and there's different categories. So if anybody's a fan of this stuff, you can go on the Sludge too. There's a banner at the top, some on the side. It says Vegas Rocks Magazine Awards and Show. There'll be some performances. So some of the bands nominated might do a song or two. There's usually an all-star jam, and there's just a ton of people there. You know, Vegas is always full of bands and celebrities and entertainers, and of course there's probably some adult porn stars and crossover notable names that'll show up, and it's
Shit,
worth
let me
checking
book my
out.
flight now. Hold on.
If you're in Vegas, it's worth checking out. It's on September 20th in Vegas.
It seems like a lot of the old, I don't want to say old, but the old hair metal guys end up in Vegas. Am I right or am I wrong?
Well, and I think, at some point, a bunch of guys migrated to Vegas and to Nashville, Um, and guys left California, or people just left California because they thought it was going to be cheaper. And at some point, you could probably buy a killer condo in Vegas for $120,000. Now
Right.
that same condo is probably near triple that. But 20 years ago, you could buy a condo for way cheaper than you could in Los Angeles. And some of those people were just like, hey, it's only a 45-minute flight, or, literally about 3.5, 4 hours by car. And so
Right.
some people said, let's go across the border. Plus, there's some tax breaks that happen there,
Yeah.
among other places that people have migrated to or moved to Texas and Tennessee and wherever else. But
I don't see a lot of.
I'm staying in the 818 myself. I like it.
I wonder if anybody's going to migrate to North Dakota. Maybe there are tax breaks and fucking. There's not a lot of congestion in the traffic. The people are nice. Anyway, I'm just fucking with you. Okay. So the big thing that happened on the channel, and if you followed me for however long, you know how important the band Warrant is to me. I've got a couple Warrant songs tattooed on my arm. I've talked about meeting Janie Lane and things back in the day, and so we've been trying. Patrick and I want to shout out Patrick Reeves, who will be heading to Monsters on the Mountain here in a couple of weeks. Maybe we'll talk about that in a little bit. But finally got an original member of Warrant. We got Stephen Sweet to come on for an interview. It was an hour and a half. And I think it's one of the definitive Warrant interviews. I mean, you don't get a lot of 90-minute interviews with those guys that talk about the entire history. He talked about forming the band Plain. He talked about meeting Janie Lane, forming
Right.
the band Plain Jane, leaving them for Warrant. And we gave a shout out to Lonnie Huey, who I think is in the comments. So maybe we'll see a comment from her. But
Awesome.
talked about her letting Steven and Janie know, hey, the guys in Warrant are looking for a singer and a drummer. We talked about, we talked about Mike Slamer doing the guitars. He gave his thoughts on that. We talked about how their second album was supposed to be called Uncle Tom's Cabin, but Donnie Einer wanted a new song. It becomes Cherry Pie. We talked about all of that. We talked about the Dog Eat Dog tour kind of flopping and Janie Lane leaving the band. All the guys had to file for bankruptcy and so much more, the death of Janie Lane. So I just wanted to thank, Warrant, the Warrant crew for
Right.
saying, hey, we're going to start, doing stuff with us. So Stephen was a great interview. So that was, I think the big news on the channel this week.
I watched it. It was good. It's crazy too that how all these pieces fall together. And I've talked about this in a couple of the recent shows on the Tuesdays. Is that Vicki Hamilton's book, Appetite for Dysfunction, is great because she's been here since pre-Motley. She moved here, I don't know, in 79 or 80 or whatever. So she was working at that licorice pizza store across from the whiskey when Motley was putting out that first indie record, when it was basically just West Coast distribution with, what was it, Leather Records.
Yep.
But when I joined Tough I moved here in June, and I joined Tough first week of July, 87. And our first show was actually with Warrant, August 21st, a month and a half later. Joey had only been in the band for a couple months. Joey, from what I see if you Google the timeline, I think Joey Allen joined Warrant in May of 87. So about a month and a half, 2 months before I joined Tough. And Steven and Janie, they left Plain Jane and joined Warrant. I'm thinking was it in 86?
I think so.
Yeah, because
think
I
it's
know that both the
86.
bands Warrant was around since 84 with Max and Adam, and Josh was the other original three with Eric and Jerry. Then after Janie and Steven came in at some point, I had heard through the grapevine that Janie wanted a better lead player or something to that effect, and then Josh ultimately got replaced with Joey. But it's crazy to look back and see how it wasn't that long. Joey was only in the band for a short period. Then I joined Tough. We play a show together. And they played around through 87 into 88 when they finally got signed. Obviously recorded the record mid-late 88, and it comes out January of 89. I think the record came out the same day as Skid Row. So there was like an East Coast band and a West Coast band. Skid Row and Atlantic and Warrenton, Columbia, both come out early 89 to both ended up having great success.
I have framed back there, you can't see it, but a framed ad for the first Tough show, Warrant with Tough, framed, I think it's from BAM magazine. Anyway, amazing shit.
Somewhere.
And speaking of, well, maybe not speaking of, but speaking of shit going on the channel, Stephanie Mandel, thank you for the super chat. Says, just because your shirt is everything, Stevie. So, Stevie, tell everybody about the Cocks.
Well, the Cocks are a band that I've actually done a couple of things on the Sludge. And they have a very, shall we say, tongue-in-cheek album called Endless Hummer. And then they have all kinds of...
Let me find the cover for that. Keep going.
They have some very sexually detailed gay song titles. The singer is gay, openly gay, and they boast about it. They have songs like "Home Sweet Homo." There's a lot of funny names, but I listened to it when they came to me. They bought some ad space. Good guys. I've done a couple features on them. They sent me some merch, and the stuff is actually really good. Yeah, it's very well produced. They've done a lot of shows. They've been in the studio with some name producers. They've toured with some name bands, and put on. So it's actually got some really good hooky music. I'm trying to think. It's kind of like a Blink-182 meets the Surf Punks meets Turbo Negro meets. I don't know. It's very punky poppy, but it's fun, and they have a lot of fun with it. And Chad is the guitarist. I call him Chad GPT. Chad's been around. He actually played in a variation of Pretty Boy Floyd when Les was in the band. Leslie on bass and Chad was guitar.
Hey, Stevie. Look, I got it. Charlie wants to go out. My computer's all hooked up, so I can still hear you.
Take her out.
Come on, Charlie, you got to go potty. Yeah, big girls go potty outside.
Put me on. Here I am. I'm live. So yeah, if you like fun poppy punk music, and you don't mind a little bit of salacious content in the way of the lyrics I have to look at the track list, but there's a bunch of very. Let's take a look. Anthony, do you have the track list there? What are the songs on? I'll
find it, and I'll tell you what. I do not mind a little salacious content in my music, and I'm giving Charlie a treat because I thought she wanted to go potty, but she didn't have to go potty.
They're good. They're good guys, and the track list there's some just great song titles.
Okay, I get to say the track list because
did you pull it up already? Because I don't have it yet. I'm digging for it.
Okay, we got Sugar on the Rim, Sex in Prison, Being a fag
in a rock and roll band.
In a rock and roll band.
Dude, that's a killer song.
Yes.
That's a killer song. I've listened to it a bunch. Bro Teen. Okay, that's a little little thick.
Gimme that dick.
Okay.
Dr. Booty.
It's better being gay.
This is a good one. Anaphylactic cock.
I love dick is one of the songs. But yeah, it's well done, and I forget who produced it, but there's a name guy that's worked with some notable punk bands, and It's good stuff. But yeah, they sent me some swag.
Hey guys, send me some shit.
My arms are not that impressive anymore. After I stood next to my son a couple weeks ago at the whiskey, I'm sure
Yeah,
some
here we
people
go.
saw that. You know, I'm 6 foot 210, 215, and I literally look like Steve Whiteman from Kicks next to my son because he's so jacked.
Your son is jacked as shit.
But I
Holy
can't
balls.
work out like I used to. This shoulder, I had a torn bicep or a rotator cuff. I had a surgery on this arm and shoulder 3 times in 55 days back in 2000. Was it 20? Yeah, I think it was. I think it was right before the pandemic hit. I was in hell. This arm, I couldn't use it. I couldn't even open up a jar of peanut butter for like 6 months. And it still kind of bothers me, you know. It's been fully
Sure.
healed, but the workouts, I can't do it as much anymore. So what are we pulling up?
What am I pulling up? I don't know what I'm pulling.
What
up.
are you pulling out? That's right. You said
Oh,
you want some
char-
Cox merchandise.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Hey, I listened to the Cox. It sounds awesome, and I shouldn't ask for
So you
free
love
shit.
you love the Cox.
I love the Cox. And funny, you were just talking about peanut butter because Charlie is okay. I got shut up. I shouldn't even go there. Fuck.
But
I
they're
am
good.
wearing.
They're good guys. They're
Yeah.
good guys, and I've watched a couple of their live videos. Their videos are actually they're fun too. You know, the singer has no reservations. He's gay, and he lets everybody know it.
Yeah.
Not everybody in the band is. Chad isn't gay. He's got a girlfriend, but he's kind of gay even with a girlfriend. So, but I love Chad. He's awesome. As a matter of fact, I remember those guys were touring in a band they had called City Girls Boys. I think that was the name of the band. Chad and Leslie. And this is going back 25 years ago when hair band first came out. And we were doing some dates on the West Coast with them and Gilby Clarke. And I remember it was like Gilby Clarke, Tough, and City Girls Boys. And those guys were drinking nonstop. And when I say nonstop, I mean there was no food. They just drank. And then they would play a show for 45 minutes and then continue to drink. So we were driving from one gig to the next, and we were leaving, and they were following us. And we pulled into a gas station, and they were like, Stevie, can you give us some gas money? And I'm like, can I give you gas money? No. But pull up to that pump. I'll pay for your gas. I'm not giving you any money. Because they would have put $5 in the gas tank and went and bought $25 worth of beer to drive to the next city. So I said, I'm not giving you any money, but if you pull up to that pump, I'll pay for your gas. And I did.
That's cool. Good for you.
Chad is an awesome guy. I love him. And I love Leslie as well.
We are approaching 250 people here, which I think
Awesome.
is amazing. So we appreciate you guys. I just wanted to throw out that I am wearing an American Jet Set shirt, and American Jet Set opened for Tough at the Whiskey. They were phenomenal. I've been playing their cover of Jackson Browne's Running on Empty, which I love the original, but they've made that version their own. I've been playing it on Hair Metal Mansion on Rock 101 KLOL. And now, what's the name of their album? It's like
I'm going to tell you right now.
Something about 87. So
the first song that I heard from them, I'm pretty sure was, I'm looking right here. I think it's called, is this it? Cat's Got Your Tongue, 4 years ago.
The album, the CD that I have is just called 1987. 1987. What am I...
I can't find the exact song.
Yeah.
Either way,
No.
I the first time I heard of American Jet Set, I stumbled on it and I was like, this sounds like Faster Pussycat. Like, it sounded like a cool Faster Pussycat B-side or something. And so I started following them a little bit, and then at some point I became friends with Ian, the singer, on social media. Did a couple of little stories on them. They played a few shows with us out here. They played a bunch of shows with a bunch of other bands. And they've got some good hooky stuff. And like you said, that American Running on Empty song that they just put out a few months ago is great.
Yep.
Obviously, he updated a couple of the lyrics to kind of
Yep.
coincide with his age and a time frame, and it's cool. They're good guys. They're from the DC area, and they got a good quality product, good quality swag, and they also Ian's a great graphics guy. He's done a ton of stuff for me over the years with advertisements and banners, and if you guys need good graphics for anything, you can reach out to them. And the guitarist, his name is Skins. I think it's Skins. He owns the branding for Hammerjacks,
Yep.
the club. That was the guy that
Yep.
had the black and yellow Hammerjack shirts. And him and his wife, they acquired that brand, so they're getting ready to start launching it, where you can buy cool old school Hammerjacks merch, T-shirts, swag, beanies,
Yep.
the whole deal. And for anybody that's toured, all of us bands, everybody, at some point plays Hammerjacks or did. Just like there used to be the Lone Star in Kansas City, Detroit had the Ritz or Harpo's, the IROC. Now there's like the Machine Shop out there in Flint. But certain cities, Chicago had the Thirsty Whale, Yeah, there you go. So Hammerjacks was a great club. That club was made famous, I think, by Kix, because Kix was the big local heroes, and they used to play there a ton, and anybody and everybody that went through there played that club. So even though the club no longer exists, having the branding is still cool. And so you're going to be seeing some Hammerjacks merch floating around on the internet here in the coming weeks or months.
And Skins, I saw your message. I'm going to reach out to you because we are talking about doing some promotion for Hammerjacks.
Awesome.
There is great live video of Kix playing Hammerjacks in 91, Warrant playing Hammerjacks in 90. There was a band called Child's Play that got a big record deal that were really famous at Hammerjacks. One of the ultimate club. I was never there, but I've heard a ton about it. So Hammerjacks and American Jet Set, very cool band. I did want to, since we were talking about the Stephen Sweet interview, and then we're going to get into some comments, and then we're going to talk hair metal news, and I'll just kind of give you a brief preview. We're going to talk about Tom Kiefer canceling his remaining dates. We're going to talk about what's going on with Bon Jovi and Vince Neil and maybe some more. But speaking of Warrant and Stephen Sweet, next week, August 11th, is the 15th anniversary of Janie Lane's death. So I know we have talked about Warrant on the past, but we are going to do a tribute to Janie Lane next week. And we are going to have some special guests. I can't announce them yet. Stevie, are you still with me? Are you frozen or am I frozen? Okay.
I
You're
am.
good.
I'm actually finding, I did a post. This is 2020. It's tough at Hammerjacks.
Oh, okay.
Somebody posted these online, and you can see there's just a massive crowd there.
Hell yes. That's awesome.
And then that's Chad. That's Chad. So let me just pull this up so you can see, Chad. You're that's the crowd at Hammerjacks.
Badass.
Thanks for the money. I guess they're selling shirts off us right now. But there's
Cool.
there's a couple shots of Hammerjacks when Tuff was there. Wow, it's so long ago. I actually had hair, which is crazy. And here's what else is funny. This guy named Bud Becker shared this in a Hammerjacks group on Facebook. And if you look at it, the AI has picked up, see all the squares?
Yep.
Somebody clicked some kind of AI and it literally picks up everybody's face, and then people were tagging themselves.
No shit.
Because there's literally there's 500 or 700, 800 people in there.
Yeah.
And everyone's zooming in and going, you can literally see all these people looking at the crowd. And all these kids that are, I say kids, they're 20 something. Is that a Vane shirt? They're all 20, but now they're like 50. They're 50 or 55, and they're on Facebook, and they're tagging all their friends. because somebody's
That's
like, hey,
awesome.
look at all these old photos. And there was a bunch of different bands, but there was like 5 or 6 shots of Tough. And it was like we had our killer. George had his stacks with the Tough logos on the screens, and Todd had his Ampegs, and Michael had his drum. This was before we had our stuff stolen. So we had our full stage show, and it looks awesome. It's crazy to think that it's 35 years ago. I'm 25 years old in those photos. I'm 60.
No shit.
Damn.
That's crazy. So, want to do it again next week. Janie Lane tribute special guest. There's going to be some cool shit. I won't announce yet. You'll have to tune in. We'll probably announce it a couple days beforehand.
And
But
we're going to
gonna have some
talk
guests.
all positive stuff about
Yeah.
Janie. We're not going to
Yep.
recall any bad memories. It's all going to be good stuff.
Yep.
The good stuff. Janie Lane's the 15th anniversary of his death. A sad day. August 11th, next Tuesday, will be the 15th anniversary, and we will do the entire show as a dedication to him. And like Anthony just said, we already have a couple special guests, but you won't know until next week.
That's
So-
right. That's right. So I have been starring some comments, and then we're going to get into some hair metal news. Okay. And let's see where I left off. I think, where did I get this one? I got that one. Loved. Okay. I got that one. Some of these might just be the Cox. Go get that Cox shirt.
Go if you like Cox, go buy a Cox shirt. Go on to
Who doesn't
Facebook,
like
any
Cox?
social media. Just search Cox and tell them we sent you. And by the way, they have other versions of this. They have girl stuff. This actually is a girl's halter top, but I squeezed it into it. So
Very nice. Mr. Neil Phipps, thank you for the super chat. Says Anthony and Stevie, what's your thoughts on the Cult? Thoughts on doing an episode on any of their albums? I love Electric, and then what's the one after that? Fucking I'm gonna feel so embarrassed that I don't know what the album is.
Electric Eel.
No. Fucking the one before
extension cord.
Huh?
I'm being funny.
You're being facetious.
Facetious. I like the Cult, couple songs, but I couldn't tell you anything about them. I know Matt Sorum was their drummer for a while. I know Ian Astbury was the singer, and that one record was great, but it just wasn't not my total cup of tea.
So Electric was amazing. The album before that, Love, had She Sells Sanctuary. I fucking worship that song.
Great song.
And then Sonic Temple was really good.
Record.
And then after that, Ceremony and some of those records, I bought them and I just never really stayed with them. So anyway, I loved them for a while. But anyway, thanks for the super chat, Mr. Neil Phipps. And I got a couple more. Okay, here's another one. Stevie, this will be right up your alley.
Okay.
Mr. Five Alive, Sunny D. Thanks for the super chat. Hey guys, I was wondering, do you guys think a young band could come out today and still be successful having an 80s hard rock sound?
I mean, yes. But it's, the thing is, it's funny because when people say, oh, it's coming back, it's only going to come back, or a style is going to come back around based on the youth. All of the fans that like 80s bands, or go to see Quiet Riot and Slaughter, or go to see Firehouse with Warren, they're our age. Most of them are our age. When you look at those casino shows or those fairs, whatever, it's, anywhere from 1,000 to 3,000, whatever people that are showing up at those events, and they're older people. They're in their 40s or 50s, and a chunk in their 60s. If something's really going to take off and sell records, or the songs are going to become, mainstream again, it's got to be with some younger talent. And I use the word, I'll say young blood, just because he's a younger guy. What is he, 30? Is he in his late 20s or early 30s?
I think so. Late 20s.
And that's why Taylor Swift and some of these young artists, and she's not that young anymore. She's in her 30s. She's been around for a while. She's already sold out the stadiums, on multiple tours. But it's going to take a youth movement of people and fans to make it happen again. It's not like somebody's going to go, well, hey, Buck Cherry just wrote a killer song. Yeah, but
No.
they're all still 50 and 60 years old. We're all legacy artists, as we call them. You know, people want to hear those. If you got one hit or three or six, and the filler tracks that they like, that crowd is a weekend crowd that goes to work 9 to 5. On the weekend, they're like, honey, let's go to the casino. There's 2 shows this weekend. We'll get some rooms. We'll gamble. We'll have some food. We'll see some friends. Here's some old songs, whether it's Loverboy or whoever, and then they go back to work. You know, the fans that really are going to make something move are the young kids that are writing the names on their tennis shoe, or they're sharing the TikToks all day. You know,
But here's what could happen is the thing is a lot of, I mean, you have a son who is, what is he, 21?
21.
We have kids, people like us who love this music have kids that are getting to be 20s, early 20s. And if some of them have decided, I love what I grew up listening to, and I'm going to find some other like-minded kids, and I'll throw up, for example, a guy like John Torra, you know, some of
Right,
these other guys, like Charlotte LaRue, you know,
Right.
these young kids who are like, I like rock and roll, and if some weird fucking wave of everything perfect happens, and it gets to the right people, and it goes viral on social media, and then all of a sudden you have other kids going, fuck, I like that rock and roll shit too. I'm gonna so
Right.
so that's what could lead, in my opinion, to
Correct.
something like that happening.
Correct.
Totally.
I I agree. It's going to be some young talent, some young band that's going to suddenly make, you know, all of these things at some point were the new flavor. You know, when the 70s were ending, after Kiss was around for a decade or 8 years, or Aerosmith or Cheap Trick or Supertramp or Kansas or Foreigner, when MTV came out and suddenly you see all these new bands, whether it was the new wave bands or the metal bands, you had the Flock of Seagulls and Boomtown Rats and Gary Newman and all those one-hit wonder kind of bands. You were like, okay, this is cool. Duran Duran, when they hit, those guys were all in their early 20s. And then when Twisted Sister and Quiet Riot, and some of those guys were a little older because they'd been playing around for some years, but it was really the Motley Crues and the Rats and stuff like that that really took and brought, you know, a whole new audience to that new heavy metal sound, you know? Iron
Right.
Maiden.
Okay, so I'm going to move on, and a couple of these might just be me acknowledging. Hey,
Go for it.
Brad says, Brenda and I are watching. We love Hair Metal Chaos. Brad, man, thank you for always supporting
Thank you.
everything we do. That's awesome. Stevie, somebody from your neck of the woods, Dave says, greetings from Wisconsin.
Where in Wisconsin, Dave? What city? Menasha, Wisconsin, in case anybody's from Wisconsin. Menasha is close to, Nina Menasha is probably 15 minutes, not even 10 or 12 minutes north of Oshkosh. Menasha just got decimated by an EF3 tornado.
Oh, shit.
If you look online, multiple neighborhoods just got destroyed. And when you look at it, it's amazing because you know what? From what I read and what I was told by some people back home, no deaths, no major injuries.
Wow.
And you look, there's drone footage for blocks and blocks and blocks. Every house is leveled. I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of houses, buildings, just unrecognizable. And it happened in 60 seconds or, 2 minutes or something. They said the winds were
Crazy.
140 miles an hour, and the tornado when it hit the ground was 1,500 yards wide. That's 15 football fields, just mowing through blocks and blocks of houses. But luckily,
Crazy.
nobody died. So shout out to Dave from Wisconsin.
Yep. Hey, we had over 280 people here. We'd love to get to 300, man. If you
Wow.
can let people know,
Nice.
that's awesome. Drummer Boy Jones from the YouTube channel Hanging with Drummer Boy Jones, who is closing in on 1,000 subscribers. I love that guy. Can't wait to meet him in person at Monsters on the Mountain. He comes on the channel all the time. But he says, I love the cock, Stevie. And then he said, that
Awesome.
sounded weird. Anyway, I always knew he loved the cock anyway. So, all right. So, Hanging with
Awesome.
Drummer Boy Jones. Holly Pipkin, thank you for supporting us. You
Thank you,
always
Holly.
here and you always comment. So that's awesome. And here's one for Stevie. Hey Guru, do you think Charlie would like Stevie? I know Stevie loves Charlie, so I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'm actually an animal person. I love dogs, and your dog has a very good temperament. Every time I see the videos you share with Charlie, she's amazing. My kids love dogs. I had a few, but at some point after I put my last dog down, my Doberman in 2010, I said, can't do this again.
Yeah.
It was brutal.
It's the worst.
The
The
dog was with me for
worst.
almost 15 years, and it was not even, I can't even describe it. It was,
Yeah.
it left me empty for a long time, you
Yeah.
know?
I shudder to even Charlie's sick, so I shudder to even think about it. So
Right.
Three Guys in a Record says he got his, I think he's talking about Tough merch today. So that is awesome. Three Guys in a Record. I know they have a YouTube channel.
Awesome. Thank you,
And
sir. Thank you,
and
sir.
here's another one. Jason Wollenberg says, I really appreciate the signed CDs from Stevie. Only expected one and got two. And said he saw you at Picktown Palooza in Pickering, Ohio. Said it was killer.
Pickerington, Ohio, which
Oh,
is just,
Pickerington.
which is just, I believe, southeast of Columbus. We played that a couple years ago. Awesome event. We played it with Quiet Riot, and I know they just did a couple of nights there again. It's an annual festival. It's usually 3 days. They had Dangerous Toys, LA Guns. I think Bullet Boys was there. Great festival, great people, and shout out to Jason. Glad you got your stuff. Glad you like it. Thank you for supporting. Appreciate it.
And Ryan McCusker says, the Tough Guys. Thank you for the super chat, Ryan. The Tough Guys fucking rule. So, and they allowed me to introduce them at the whiskey. And apparently they love the Cox as well. I'm just going to throw this one up there because I got to find out who this is. I played some JV basketball versus the Guru. He could dunk. I don't know if your memory is that good because I don't think I could ever dunk. Okay, it got close, but I was decent for small town North Dakota. So, hey, let me know who you, it says J Mike. So let me know who you are because I want to find out. And here, I'll do one more for Up in Flames says this is the best damn show on YouTube. And
Thank
then I'm
you.
going to do one more, and we're going to get into some hair metal news, and then we'll get back to. But Guru, what units were you in? I was 1st Infantry Division and 18th Corps Artillery Brigade. I was in the 142nd Engineer Combat Battalion Heavy in Fargo, North Dakota. And when I was in Iraq, we were under the 130th Engineer Brigade out of Germany, I think it was. So that's and then I kind of when I became an officer, I moved around a little bit. So anyway, thanks for your service, man. That's really cool. Let's get into so Stevie, some hair metal news. And one of the things that a lot of people were talking about, I did a couple different videos on this, but Tom Kiefer canceled the remaining dates of his tour in 2026.
Right.
And then shortly after that, Fred Coury said he and Eric Brittingham are ready to reform Cinderella whenever Tom gives the word. So do you think with Tom having these vocal issues that he might bring back the Cinderella name because obviously he probably makes more money with Cinderella on the marquee versus Tom Kiefer? What do you think?
Well, at the end of the day, I could almost say without a doubt, the branding, the use of the name is a higher value than without. 100%. If somebody uses the name Quiet Riot, Rat, Slaughter, Poison, Cinderella, it's going to carry more cachet than if it's just the solo artist from. Now, does Bret Michaels of Poison do good numbers on his own? Absolutely.
Yep.
So does
Totally.
Tom. But if you put the Cinderella logo on and take away that, because when even Piercy does, like Stephen Piercy, the voice of Rat, but I think at the end of the day, the branding is, and a company, a promoter like Live Nation per se. Live Nation is obviously I believe the country's biggest or North America's biggest promoter. So if they're going to put Live Nation behind it and the big machine gets behind it, they're going to want to use branding of Motley Crue, Def Leppard, Poison, Tesla, Cinderella. I don't see them. And I've heard some stories over the years. I don't know how true they are. I would say, I've had some sources that I think were pretty reliable. For instance, when Motley Crue was going to be going out, I guess this year, I heard that last year that there was, and of course, what you're seeing right now with Motley Crue today, meaning it's August of 2026, this tour was probably locked in more than a year ago, like last spring. So let's say early spring 2025, Live Nation sits down with Motley Crue and says, hey, you guys did a great run with Def Leppard and Poison on the stadium tour. Let's go out in 2026. What do you think? And I heard at some point they offered Skid Row a big chunk of money to be the direct support. But of course, it's got to be Skid Row with Sebastian. So in other words, everybody's got to come back together. And they throw a bunch of money at him. I heard that was rejected. I also heard that Live Nation came back with an even bigger offer. Because obviously, Motley Crue is obviously down a member. Obviously, Mick's no longer there. They had a little bit of an issue with the whole legal thing. But it's still Motley Crue. You still are getting Nikki, Vince, Tommy, and obviously John. And Mick was going to retire almost regardless because of health issues. But I think the fact that they ended up in a court battle, it got a little ugly and didn't help. But my point is that when Live Nation was going to offer Skid Row, they weren't going to say, hey, if you guys want to show up with ZP Thert or Lizzie Hale, we'll give you the same money. No, they wanted Skid Row with Sebastian so they could say Motley Crue, Skid Row, all original members, and then so and so. The same thing with Poison. Live Nation, if they're gonna do a Poison thing, it's going to be Poison. It's not going to be Poison featuring insert new singer here or Bret Michaels of Poison. It's got to be Poison with those four. And I think Cinderella, like you made a prediction. And what was that you predicted in your video the other day?
The prediction is that, I think Poison will try to go out. I think Brett realizes that's the smart move in 2027.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Tom will reform Cinderella with Fred Coury and Eric Brittingham and Sebastian LeBar, Jeff LeBar's son. And I think Cinderella will open that tour because that's a huge draw. They both came out at the same time. Their first three albums all came out in the same years. So I could really see that happening.
Right. And then they add maybe one other band as an opener. Could be maybe they do bring in a Warrant.
Yep.
Because Janie's not there and you got four originals and Robert, so maybe it's going to be Poison, Cinderella, Warrant. And that, the package is nicely put, obviously. And that's, when somebody's passed on, obviously there's no getting the original guy back. But if Tom's floating around by himself and you're frozen now, Anthony.
Still?
It might take you're still frozen.
Okay.
I think that the Cinderella thing, and the fact that Fred said what he said, that is a little telling, because exactly 1 year ago there was something similar that was out in the press. You're back now. As I was just saying, Anthony, a year ago there was something in the press where Fred had made a comment, or Eric, and then people kind of took it out of context. And Fred, at that point, I think said, not looking to do that right now. But maybe as time's going on, Tom has been touring also as Tom Kiefer of Cinderella for the last several years. And at some point, maybe the fans are like, okay, we've seen this tour 3 or 4 different times over the last 6 or 8 years. And so maybe there is hey, can we do it one more last time? And you got Tom and Eric and Fred, and then obviously Jeff's son to fill the void.
And it's the band name is so important. Like Bret Michaels, people forget, was playing
just froze
clubs.
Again, and your audio just cut out.
You got to be shitting me.
Okay, we've lost Anthony. Are you there? He's challenged today. The StreamYard sometimes acts up a little bit. Mine hasn't been doing it, but obviously Anthony's did. So you froze again. Plus, we lost your audio. I don't know what happened, but
Are
you're
you
back.
hearing me now? Are you hearing
I
me
hear
now?
you. You're back.
Okay.
You're back.
Okay. So I was just and I'm all plugged in. I moved my modem upstairs, so we should be good anyway. But it's people forget that Brett Michaels, when he went
You just
solo,
froze again.
you are
Unbelievable. You just froze again, and the audio went out too.
I
Did
don't know
you?
what's going on. Is there anything that I can here? 1 second. Okay, I'm gonna fuck me.
Anthony's gone, but let's just cross our fingers. I think it's all. It might have something to do with the fact that he's bringing things in and out too. Is it happening every time you're trying to bring a photo in or
Uh I
bring a
don't
comment in?
think so, but am I good now?
You're good now. You're good
There's
now. But it's your
200
last.
287 people watching me freeze my balls off. Okay, I'm just
Right.
kidding.
Fingers
Let me
crossed.
know if it happens again. We should be good. But I'll try to finish this point. Brett Michaels was playing. Somebody doesn't want me to say that Brett Michaels was playing clubs because I keep freezing every time I say that. He built his name up over a long time. But when people say, like, when bands change members, they should start it under a new name. That's like starting all over again.
Right.
The
Right.
band name, I mean, look at how many bands can go out with barely any original members. Foreigner can play to thousands of people because they have the name Foreigner. If
Right.
you chose some other name, you would immediately be back to playing with the exact same lineup to 100 or 200 people at a small
Right.
club. It's
Right.
all about the name. So, anyway, that was my
It
point that I was
is.
trying to get out.
It is, and no matter what band you're in, no matter what the lineup, if it's not the original, even if it is, you know, there's going to be some trolls. I mean, myself and Michael and Todd are back playing together, and we've had the other day somebody messaged me and asked what happened to Billy. Because we used Dougie on a weekend out in California, and obviously everybody saw my funny post that I put, and I said that we kicked him out of the band because he tried to have sex with Todd without a condom when Todd was drunk. And the guy said, "Are you serious, bro?" And you just disappeared again. Now
Hey,
you're back.
hey, I don't, Stevie, people are texting me and they are saying that they think I'm fine, that it's something
No,
on your end.
no, okay. Well, you've frozen my computer probably 5 times in the last 10 minutes, but
Okay.
we'll let it
Steph,
go.
but if you're not hearing me, maybe you should refresh your computer, Stevie.
Oh, so okay, so I'm ruining the whole
You're
podcast.
fucking things up.
Unbelievable. Let me
You're
take a
fucking
look
things
here.
up. Stephanie is saying, honey, even everyone in the chat is saying that they could see and hear Anthony. It's on your side.
Oh my
So
god.
maybe you should. Hey, remember, we're not professional fucking like I'm no mathematician. Okay, I don't know everything that's going on with technology, but we.
I'm gonna bounce out for a second and
Yep,
reset. Okay,
yep.
so you
Sounds
lead the
good.
way.
Okay, so Stevie's obviously drunk, which is funny because he doesn't drink. And luckily, well, I might have to start drinking if this shit keeps happening. But hey, you guys are so awesome. And for always understanding, that hey, we're not technological experts, and sometimes this shit happens. But there are 295 people in here, and you guys are the best. So thank you. I'm gonna get to some more comments because I think there's been some cool stuff in the comments. Let's see. I did that one. I did that one. Here's one from JC Chris. Said your trip in LA really made me want to take a plane from France to go to the Rainbow and the Whiskey. So I do have a ton of content that I need to get organized and is going to come up. But I'll be honest, you guys, I coming back to Fargo, I kind of went into a little funk for a week. Like I was like, shit. Not that I can up and move. My son lives here. My mom lives 40 miles away. But Los Angeles was awesome. It really was. And the weather was great and everybody was so nice to me and I felt so welcomed. So, not saying I'm moving anywhere, but what I am saying, and I know I've repeated this point, is that I am now planning on taking advantage of every fucking opportunity to go to these places, which will cost money. And so when I say this, I fully acknowledge that it's not always easy for everybody to do. It's not easy for me to do, but I really don't spend any money and haven't for many, many years. So I've tried to save up, but I'm going to Monsters on the Mountain and I'm going to bring I'm going to bring a bunch of merch that my buddy, Jason Moit, the laser engraver guy is gonna make, and I'm gonna bring merch. I'm gonna meet Jones from Hanging with Drummer Boy Jones and Patrick, and then I'm gonna go to LA the last week of December, because how many more times are these bands that we love gonna do this stuff? I'm gonna do that. I'm talking to a good friend of mine in Nebraska about going to see the Scorpions in Vegas. Who knows if that'll happen, but I'm just bound and determined that I'm going to do all the things that I can do before it's too late. So anyway, thank you for the comment, JC Chris. Let's get to a couple more comments. Hard Rocking Trivia Show says, my favorite live show on YouTube. And I will say that I'm working on, I might even do some more lives. You know, I did lives on my own or with Jeremy when we were in Los Angeles. I might venture out, and just do some occasionally. And I might ask other artists. So Stevie is obviously my boyfriend. And, but he did kiss me on the cheek when I was at the Rainbow Bar and Grill. But Stevie and I will always do Tuesday. But I might ask other artists if they want to come on occasionally and do some other stuff and maybe talk about albums and things. So here is Stevie. And Stevie, I hear an echo, so I wonder, you're not listening to me on YouTube or anything, are you?
I am. I'm actually turning it down right now.
So turn that shit off. Just
okay,
kidding.
so I just heard you say I was your boyfriend, which is kind of weird.
You did kiss me on the cheek at the Rainbow. It was okay. I didn't mind.
Is it?
You can do it again if you want.
What happened to my name? I had a new name too. Is it showing up?
I saw it. Well, it's probably... So I Ruin Podcast. That's Stevie's new nickname. That's a good name. It's a good name. Good call. Yeah, you're frozen. You're frozen.
Stephanie's yelling at me.
I'm sure.
Okay.
So I was doing some comments.
Frozen.
I was doing some comments and talking about how you have a crush on me while you were gone. So I'm going to get through a couple more and then we're going to continue on with new stuff. And thank you guys you guys are the best. Thank you for the comments, the super chats, which Eden Music, thanks for the super chat. Says, found your channel after injuring my back at work 4 months ago. My hours increase in 2 months or something, so can't watch the live, but I'll catch the show later. Thanks for keeping me sane through a tough time. Cheers from Australia. You rock. I can almost read comments like that, you guys, and I'm not going to cry, but thank you. I mean, that means the world to me that somebody would say that. So
thank you.
Very cool. Let's see. Gigi says, I loved the Stephen Sweet interview. And we'll get to Stevie. Eat drugs first. Nice name. Says Wednesday 13 is the right dude. He just rocks and a nice guy. See my handle, and he just is a super nice guy in person. Seen him 14 times. Wednesday's a great fucking guy. Anyway,
I agree. He came to our VIP event at the Nightingale Studios a couple weeks ago. Hung out with people, took pictures. Had some other friends pop in. It was a great time. It was awesome. Wednesday's
totally
awesome.
Schneids is here. Schneids, who
awesome.
was in Exciter with Stevie. So he is here, and he has put out some new music. He's put out an EP, and I was listening to it, Schneids. I liked a couple of your videos today, and I'm going to try to get at least one of those songs. I think Gluttony on Hair Metal Mansion. So anyway, Schneids, thanks for tuning in. And I'll get to another super chat here. And Stevie, sorry, I hope I'm not dominating the conversation, but
No, because I'm trying to look at a couple things online here, and
sure.
I'm trying to find some cool photos of me and Schneids
There you go.
for all those people who don't keep up with the Exciter news when you should. Hello.
The Anthony 5150. Thanks for the super chat. So what do you guys think of? Oh yeah, you showed that. That's shit. Yes,
That's
Schneids
Jason.
is. Yep.
Jason in the dark hair. Jason Giordano. He lives in Nashville now. He also owns Gear Orphanage. So if anybody's ever bought anything from Gear Orphanage over the last 25 years from Los Angeles or Nashville, that's Jason. And then also in the
Awesome.
band at that time was Schneids on bass, Jim Gipp on drums, and oh, that's right, I'm the singer. I was the singer. I'm trying to find. There's a couple of cool pictures of me and Schneids from back in the day. I'm trying to find those.
Okay. Here, I'll do a couple of these comments. The
Go for it.
Anthony 5150 says, "What do you guys think of Sambora and Phil X playing Bon Jovi songs with Kings of Chaos over the weekend?" I did see Richie playing a little bit of Midnight Rider and then segueing, is that a word? Segueing into Wanted Dead or Alive. And Richie's got a great voice. And I actually thought about covering that because I do think it's kind of interesting that he and Phil X would be out doing something together. So, but yeah, it was a good performance. That Kings of Chaos gets a bunch of all-star guys together, and Jack Blades, I think, from Night Ranger, Matt Sorum from Guns N' Roses, a bunch of guys were in it. I think even Kevin Cronin from REO Speedwagon. So, yeah. William Canodal says, "I left California for North Dakota 5 years ago. I love it here." Williams, hi. I probably have seen you because North Dakota is so small. I've probably seen you on the freeway. I probably gave you the old North Dakota wave. So tell me where you're at in North Dakota. And then I got another super chat here. Lady SRM, Stephanie and this podcast rules, even when we have technological issues. Lady SRM, is that Stephanie's sister? Or
Honestly, I don't know. I don't know if
okay,
she's got a
maybe not.
different name.
Maybe not.
You gotta ask Stephanie that.
Jason Carter says, "I rule." Well, Jason Carter, I think you rule for that comment. And then what, Stevie, maybe you know this. Skank Neurotic says, "What's Leslie Sanders up to nowadays? Isn't he in the band? Fuck. Do you know who
I don't know.
Leslie Sanders is?"
Oh yeah. That's Les. That's who I was talking about. That was in City Girls Boys with Chad, and I gave them
Okay.
gas money. They
Okay.
also played in a variation of Pretty Boy Floyd with Steve at some point.
Okay. All right. All right. And then I got a couple other super chats and we'll get on with the news. Johnny Rockfan says, "Hello from the Fargo area. I met Johnny Rockfan at the Firehouse Lita Ford concert. Awesome guy."
Right.
Says, "Stevie, is there a concert from your youth that you look at as being a big influence on your music career?"
I mean, I've already talked about this before. The time that I saw Ozzy with Motley Crue opening, it was the Bark at the Moon tour, Motley's Shout at the Devil, March 8th, 1984. I had turned 18 6 days earlier, and that concert is the very reason that I'm here right now. Before that, I wasn't in a band. I wasn't singing. I wasn't trying to be in a band. I had no interest in being in a band. I was literally skateboarding, working at a donut shop, going to high school. But that made me suddenly become obsessed with Motley Crue, with Vince Neil, with Nikki Sixx, everything to do with Motley, and then Rat, and then Van Halen, and it all just snowballed. And then I wanted to be a singer. And the following year, in early '85, is when we started playing live with Exciter. That I joined Exciter. Exciter had already played a couple of shows with a different singer, and Schneids told me, "Steve, we need you." And then I came into Exciter and we played around. Probably a couple years and change. I played around the bar circuit in Wisconsin, and then that's when I said I'm going to LA, and I did.
Well, Stevie, speaking of that, one thing that we were going to talk about in Hair Metal News was there's been a lot of talk about the Motley Crue concerts, and
Yep.
we're Motley Crue fans, but there's been videos showing Vince singing and nothing's going on, and
Right.
a lot of people saying the lip syncing, like he's not lined up with the vocal. Anyway, have you seen any of that? Do you have any
I
thoughts on Motley?
I have. I've seen a few. The ones that come across. I'm not digging for it. I honestly,
Right.
as much as Motley Crue was the reason I started this, there came a point, and it was fairly early. When I say that, meaning in the '80s when I was in Tough for even just a couple years, I suddenly just started to see the other side of this industry, and I started to meet people that at some point I was like, oh my God, I'm at some concert in Wisconsin, whether it was in an arena in Green Bay or Milwaukee or Madison, and at that point everybody was bigger than life to me, and what was on MTV and in the magazines and on the posters in my wall or on the radio. Once I got a little deeper into the business, I wasn't as impressed anymore. Like it wasn't like
Right.
I had everybody on a pedestal the whole way. So at some point I saw how guys were maybe lifted up because of that. And now it's 40 years later. It's more than that. So guys are flailing or failing in health. Don Dokken, Vince, even John Bon Jovi having to walk off in the middle of a sold out Madison Square Garden after an hour and say, I can't sing anymore, and some people are attacking it. I think that Motley Crue is kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. What I think happened is a year and a half ago, this was all planned. Like this concert tour that's happening right now, this was
Yep.
booked 14, 16, 18 months ago. And it was being planned even probably before that, at the end of 2024. So then at some point, Vince ends up with these couple of health issues. He has, a mini stroke and then another one. Supposedly there was as many as 4 strokes, a couple of small ones,
Couple,
and then
at
maybe
least.
one that got a little bigger. And so at some point they're like, how do we get through this? Is Vince able to sing part of the stuff? Can he sing part of it? It's almost like when they did, what were they on? Was it American Idol where they did Home Sweet Home was it
Yep.
with Kelly
I think
with Kelly Clarkson?
no, with the blonde girl who did the Monday Night Football theme, Carrie Underwood.
Yeah. Carrie Underwood. So, I watched that. And the one
Yep.
thing I thought is clearly her helping doing, some of the harder parts. Not that Home Sweet Home is a hard song to sing, but I think that sounded to me, it sounded like Vince was really singing that, because at some points
Yeah.
it was a little
Yep.
weak. There was a little fluctuation, but then she came in and really helped carry him,
Yep.
and I thought that was a great idea. Even when they did the residencies last fall, I watched some of the videos and I thought, oh my God, he sounds really good. Like
Maybe a little too good.
25, 30 years ago good. And I watched several of those videos. Now, the fact that they were in a setting for a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, 2 or 3 shows in a weekend, and then, they had that venue to themselves. There was no other bands there.
Yep.
And there, you're in one spot, and there's a lot of things that could be probably done, I guess, using whatever the technologies are. But now they're actually having to travel city to city to city. They're also playing on events where there's 10 bands or 3 or 4 bands, and there's 100 people on these crews backstage in different areas. And, now we're starting to see, okay. And there's also, thousands of people with the iPhone watching every move, everything that Nikki does, and John or Tommy or Vince. So I don't have anything bad to say about it. It is what it is. At this point, there's going to be fans that are going to complain. They
Yeah.
go out there and do a great job, and people would still find something to complain about. Well, Mick's not there.
Yeah.
Mick can't do it anyways. So
I almost wonder if the way to fucking do it is to do what WASP is doing. WASP is admitting, look, we're piping in shit.
yeah,
I think Blackie he's singing so he can say he's singing, but I think he's singing along to the
100%.
music,
I believe
and
so as well.
and the crowds. What his point of view is I want the crowd to hear something that makes them think, wow.
Right.
And maybe that's the way to do it. Now, I think that's what Motley Crue is trying to do. But Vince, because of his health issues, you can see him constantly looking down at a monitor
Right. He's
to
looking at
remember
the
the lyrics.
right.
But he's coming in at the wrong time. So he's not singing along with the piped in vocals. And that's what's making if I think if he was singing along, most people wouldn't know or they probably wouldn't give a shit. But a lot of people, my buddy Ian Scotto, who is a great guy, he just did a really big video that covered it. He's, pointing out like, look where he's singing and look where the words are. And it's all so that's why I think it's become a big deal. I
Right.
think people would kind of accept, look, they're probably piping in some shit, but because it looks so awkward, that's why it's becoming big news anyway.
Well, and the thing is, Vince physically looks like he's had something happen. He does
Totally.
look like he's, and if you have those issues where, he's moving slower, his reaction time's not as good. He is in his 60s. He has partied harder than 99% of the planet. So, at some point you're gonna the time is gonna come. It's like when
Yeah.
Dan Marino was walking out to play a football game with all the knee braces on, or Brett Favre, and now Aaron Rodgers is going to do another year. And at some point, everybody, like you said, Father Time is undefeated. Again, you're never going to please everybody. Somebody is going to complain one way or the other. Or Jizzy could go out there and sing his ass off and do all those Quiet Ride songs every night. They're not tuning down. He's able to do it. But even if he does that, somebody's going to go, well, they should have Kevin there. Or, even though Kevin's not even alive. Or no matter what you do, there's going to be complainers. We have complainers about our show.
Of course.
We have tons of comments, but
Really?
there's always going to be a couple of haters,
No shit.
So, yeah. There's always going to be some thoughts that, that don't align with, everybody doesn't think the same way. So
Right. And I just wanted to throw this out there is yes, they're going to get to a point where, fans are going to say eventually like, hey, we have to retire. But then you see like, was it Frankie Valli?
right. That's
Like, are we going to see that with some of our favorite rock stars? I don't know.
Frankie Valli is literally like this.
Fuck. And you can see like his lips.
Then you hear the music pumping, and he's just like,
Totally. And that's fucked up. I don't want to see. I really don't want to see that.
Right.
So, hey, we did go over 300 people. We're back to 295,
Awesome.
but we went over
Awesome.
300. That's awesome. We'll get to and maybe we'll address the Bon Jovi. It's kind of the same thing. Obviously, he's not piping in vocals if he's saying that he can't sing. But I wanted to throw out this. Mike, thank you for the super chat. Mike says 17 days until we rock the mountain in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. John Corabi was just added in place of Cinderella. Somebody else put in the comments, hey, why can't we get Stevie? Why can't we get Tough as a last minute addition to the mountain? So anyway, I'm sure that's a little late.
I don't get to make that decision,
Right.
and I think it's I think John's a great addition. Who's he replacing? I know is so Faster Pussycat's not playing, and they brought Bullet Boys in, and now who's John replacing?
Well, I thought Kiefer was on the mountain, and now he's gone
Okay,
because
so
of his.
so
So
it's probably going to be Karabi's replacing Kiefer, and then but Michaels has been sick or had some health issue where they told him he can't play for like 3 weeks. But I think there's going to be enough time for him to recover to play that. But
yes,
I
think
he's had to
so.
cancel or postpone some of his shows as well.
Yes, yes. So yeah, so I think Karabi is coming in for Kiefer. Let us know in the comments if you're going to be there. A bunch of us are going to that. So let me get to. We were talking about younger bands, and we are hoping to do a show. We were talking earlier about what it's going to take for the scene to come alive. Well, Fire and Ice, John Torres band, great band, Crazy Licks, good young bands that kind of have that 80s sound. So there are bands out there. They just need people to support them and for the right song to hit, I think.
Agree.
So, Hard Rocking Trivia Show says, Stevie, you need to go to Fargo.
We've never played there. You
That's right.
you guys don't have a lot of shows there, do you?
No.
When was the
There's-
last shows there? You saw Bret Michaels and Piercy last year, which you went to that. That was in your hometown, wasn't it?
Yep, that's in Fargo. And
Okay.
Buck Cherry was just here. We do get like Warrants played here a couple of years ago. I saw Guns N' Roses in 2023. We do have an arena that seats about 25,000 people. We do have some kind of club areas that will do like 1,000. What we really don't have is a good club that will, play the bands that can draw like 500 people.
Right.
You
You
know,
don't have a
that's
good
what.
club? You don't have a
Not
club that does
we
that on a regular basis?
we used to have some good clubs, and I think they and I'm kind of out of it, at my age, so maybe I'm just not. But we don't seem to get a lot of those shows.
What
There's
is your age? What is your age?
53, man.
Okay, so you're in your
53.
50s. I'm
I'm
not.
in my.
But with that, because I am elderly, I have to go to the bathroom. So you're going to have to excuse me
Go
for a
ahead.
minute. I don't think I've ever went to the bathroom during the live, but
Go ahead.
I have to now.
Go
And
ahead.
I'm not going to sit on the toilet, but I have to go pee because I drank some of this Red Bull
No problem.
and this lemonade. So talk to the fans. I'll be back.
And I think he just popped a Viagra too, so he's probably got to take care of something else. Anyway, I'm gonna get through a couple more of these comments and hit me up. That one mortgage guy, thank you. Said you should ask people you interview about videos they made. I think people would love to hear about the making of those videos. Love the show. That's a good question. That to ask, and maybe I should start because I did ask Stephen Sweet, what he thought of the cherry pie video when it was put out. I didn't ask him about making it. So that's probably a valid question. And thanks a lot, man. Really appreciate that super chat. Skank Neurotic says Poison, Cinderella, and Warrant, my bucket list tour. I think it was around 2002 where Poison did go out with Cinderella opening. And I can't remember. I don't think Warrant was on that one. But there was like 4 bands. Maybe it was called the Glam Slam Metal Jam. It was amazing. Poison and Cinderella, I think, is a great pairing. So hopefully that happens in 2027. Ken Pease, hopefully I pronounced that right. Maybe it's Peasy. Ken Pease 73. Hey guys, thanks for another great show. Have you guys heard the band All Sinners from New Bedford, Massachusetts? Their debut album is great. I know the members, very nice guys. They played the Whiskey a few times. I think I have heard All Sinners. I would not claim to know much about them, but I think I've listened to their stuff on YouTube. I may have even interacted with one of the guys who was talking to me. I get a lot of people who message me about their bands, and which is awesome. I don't always, have the time to say, hey, I can do an interview or promote your record because I do so many different things. But I think I have heard of All Sinners. So now I'm going to remind myself to go check them out after this show. Kevin Minton Thank you for the super chat, Kevin. Kevin is always here. You're awesome. Says, how about a Lynch Mob Wicked Sensation album roundtable review with Stevie? I'll have to talk to Stevie. Stevie does come on some other times, but mainly we just do this together. So I could talk to the roundtable crew. I have interviewed Anthony Esposito, and I would love to have George Lynch on. So we'll see if George would ever be willing to come on to the Guru and talk about his career. That would be awesome. And the CD 5150 said, would you consider reviewing Judas Priest Turbo? Well, wasn't that the album that was kind of their stab at hair metal? Kind of had a lot of keyboards. I would be interested in that. And so possibly the CD 5150. Thank you so much. And the last one for Super Chats, Mike. Can't wait to meet you, Anthony. Can't wait to meet you, Mike. Can't wait to meet everybody at the mountain. It is going to be badass. So I'm super, super excited. And so let us know if you... Here, somebody says, Fargo went platinum 0 times. That's true. That's true. Not much happening in Fargo. So can't wait to meet you at the mountain and in Los Angeles at the end of the year. That run of shows with LA Guns, Faster Pussycat, Pretty Boy Floyd, Enough's Enough, The Throbs. I know I'm missing somebody, White Lion. I'll be back at LA and hopefully get to do some cool content and meet up with everybody.
Faster Pussycat is one night, and LA Guns, I think, is on New Year's Eve. It's a week long. I think everything from like Saturday through New Year's Eve, which is like 6 days later. It's one show after another. And, shoot.
Stevie, did you shake it more than once?
I was looking for this photo. This is me and Schneids back in 1986, probably. This was
very cool.
At the WAPL Battle of the Bands. We did win this round, but when we went on to the next round, we lost. But Schneids is awesome. Schneids, as everybody, we probably talked about this at some point. He was out in LA for several years, played in a couple bands. He's also released a couple of bits of music in the last few years that he's done, CD, and I think even some little vinyl 45s. But he's also released some of the bands that were on the strip. So if you visit Schneids online, Mike Schneider, he's got some cool stuff. He also has the Exciter T-shirts, which are still for sale. We don't sell a ton of them, but we do. The logo's been updated. It's a very cool logo, and we have some select sizes. You can buy those in the Sludge store, and then the orders get transferred to Schneids, and Schneids ships them. So if you're a small or medium, I don't know how many sizes, if he's got all sizes. I know there's smalls and mediums because I recently sold them, and he said I have those in stock. So...
Schneids, hook a brother up. I'm just kidding. I am going to play your song on Hair Metal Mansion, though, so that sounds like a fair trade. Anyway,
awesome.
So I'm going to work on that. Here's something I wanted to bring up because Patrick and I just did a video about this.
Right.
The Sebastian Bach going to do a solo album, and we've talked about the controversies they had, him going after you and Ted Poley on the Monsters of Rock cruise, him... calling this girl a fucking bitch from the crowd. He sometimes will appear to make nice with the guys in Skid Row, and then he'll go on stage and kind of shit on the guys in Skid Row. So I'll ask you the question, does any of that stuff, do you think it impacts him, all of these controversies, or do you think it's kind of like we're so, news pops up and then disappears, so do you think any of that stuff impacts him when he does tours or puts out new music?
What do you mean by impacts him?
Like all of these controversies, is he losing fans by doing the stuff that constantly people are like, geez, Sebastian, get your shit together? Does that cost him fans?
I mean, it's hard to say, I mean, at the end of the day, he does seem to be... What's the word I'm looking for? He's an emotional roller coaster. It's either super high or super low. It's just so over the top with him. Meaning, if you walk in the room and you're wearing a Kiss shirt or a Rush shirt, or some band that he likes, you could become his best friend. If you walked in the room and you're wearing a Tough or a Metal Sludge shirt, he don't even know, even if he doesn't know you, he's going to be mad at you because he doesn't like that shirt. If I'm walking down the street and somebody walks by me and they're wearing a Dallas Cowboys shirt, I don't get mad at them, or the Bears, I might go, hey, I'm a Packer fan. And the Bear guy will go, ugh, too bad.
Right.
It's kind of a giggle or a laugh. But Sebastian, obviously, we've seen, and it's not, I'm not picking on the guy. I've had people say that I was bullying him. It's like, how am I bullying a guy that's 6'3" and 200 and some pounds? How am I bullying the guy?
Yeah.
And when I went up to make essentially offer an olive branch, as they say, hey, Sebastian, it's Stevie Rachelle. It's been a while. Went to shake his hand. Dude lost his mind. I did the same thing with Michael Sweet.
Yep.
He's just like, Stevie, let's trade numbers and let's talk. We did. So, I don't know. Bach is in his own world. He has his own opinions about how things are. And, when he says to an interview, I haven't been in the same room with those guys in 30 years. How could they not like me? I don't know, because they saw everything you did on the internet for the last 30 years.
Right.
Or all the things you said about them,
Right.
They're obviously not going back. And I honestly think at this point, now they've been without a singer for a few years. They're going to go through this and they're going to have a new guy. I don't, maybe they're never going to go back to him. But, and it just goes to show you just how tainted it must have been for them to say, we're not going back. And going back to the Motley Crue and GNR stuff that has happened in the last few years, Guns N' Roses reunited. When Axl was famous for saying, when somebody said, will you reunite with Slash? And he said, not in this lifetime.
Right.
Which is why the tour was called Not in This Lifetime Tour.
Yeah.
And they ended up going up and making $500 million over X amount of years. So
Sure.
Duff, Slash, and Axl at some point had a meeting of the minds. This stuff went on probably long before any of us knew, a year before they actually stood on stage. And it took some stuff to get through it, And I think the same thing could be said for Skid Row. But if Sebastian would have been, if he would have taken the high road, if he would have been the nice guy and not insulted Eric Grunwald or ZP or anybody that stepped in there, Tony Harnell, had he not attacked his band the way he had continuously, year after year, decade after decade, there might have been a reunion by now. But he has no control over his emotions.
Yeah, and that's the point that I made is it would take like a year or an extended period of time of him seeming to be very reflective and apologetic, but every time he appears reflective or apologetic, 2 weeks later he goes out and does something stupid, and then if you're the Skid Row guys, you're like, no way, I can't trust that. He might embarrass me. So yeah.
The question is going to be: how's he going to be with Twisted Sister?
Oh yeah.
And I have to believe that JJ French and the powers that be in that camp say, listen, if there's 30 Skid Row shirts in the front row, which there might be, and there might be Skid Row shirts from tours he's not involved with or whoever, he cannot at any point have a bad reaction to that. Especially if he's on stage fronting Twisted Sister. I don't think they're going to want him doing one of the stop the show, and he starts ranting and raving at somebody in the crowd. I just don't see them allowing that to happen. And, if he did that, I think it's not going to be a good look for him. But we'll find out how his behavior is. Everyone thought, I didn't think this, but when Axl took the AC/DC tour, I knew that he would be on his best behavior.
Yep.
He was very respectful. And again, when people say that about, when was the last time that Axl, outside of him throwing, I think he threw a microphone at the bass drum, like within the last year or two. But other than that, he has had a clean slate for about 20 years. There's been no over the top episodes or incidents. Like you said, Bach can be on a good roll for about a month and a half.
Yeah.
And then he shits the bed. And usually what happens is when he's on a good roll when he's not in the public eye. As soon as he goes on tour for like 6 or 8 weeks, there's 2 or 3 incidents that happen,
Yep.
and the pressure of being on the road and singing and meeting fans, it gets to him, and then he snaps,
Right. I think he will try to be Axel with Twisted Sister. I think he will try to
Right,
keep his shit together because
right.
I think he does respect Dee Snider and that band, and I think he'll be like, all right,
I agree.
keep it together. But when
Yep.
he's out on his own and nobody's gonna say, hey, dude, don't do that, don't do this,
Right.
then you never know. So I'll ask you this. Well, it's not about me, but he doesn't like me. He blocked me on Twitter or X long ago. But
Who, Sebastian?
Sebastian,
Yeah.
we had some run-ins, I mean, like online. So next year when we're on the Monsters of Rock cruise, do you think you'll try to avoid him? Do you think you'll try to seek him out? How do you think you'll approach being on the same thing, the Monsters of Rock cruise with Sebastian Bach after what happened
Well,
last year?
I'm going to go on the cruise the same way I always go on the cruise. I'm going to go wherever I want. I'm going to hang out with whoever I want, and I won't change anything.
Yeah,
If I run into him, I run into him. I already
sure.
tried to go up and say hey and shake his hand the last time, and he had a meltdown.
Right,
So,
right.
if I end up in the same room as him, I won't approach him again. He doesn't want me to. But, who knows? And Sebastian spent the week telling everybody he wanted to confront me. He
Yeah.
wanted to talk to me. He wanted to see me face to face and see if I was going to be the same guy that I was behind my keyboard. And when I went up, I didn't approach him with a posse. I didn't go up there with 5 guys. I wasn't angry. I literally just went up and said, "Hey, Sebastian, it's Stevie. It's been a while." And I put my hand out, and he lost his mind. So
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. I can't wait.
He lost it on Ted as well.
Okay, do I, when I go to the mountain, do I wear a hair metal guru shirt? Do I wear a tough shirt? Do I wear a metal sludge shirt when I go see Sebastian Bach? Let us know in the
Well,
comments what you think I should do.
yeah, I think you wear whatever you want, whichever day. I mean, obviously there's 10 bands a day, so
Yeah. But I
you're
mean at Sebastian Bach. At Sebastian Bach.
yeah,
I'm kind of being funny, but that's all right.
yeah.
Okay. So now, and I'll just ask you this real quick. We got about 13 minutes left, and there are over 300 people in here. You guys are the
Awesome.
best. What do you think? And I know we've talked about this a little bit before, but still no word from Skid Row about the singer search. We don't know if they've got anything lined up. The camp is completely quiet. That Sweetwater thing. When's the last time you heard anybody talk about? Oh, we're excited about the Sweetwater thing. That seems to have disappeared. I think it's a bad look. What's going on with the singer search for Skid Row?
I don't. I think it's
Okay.
the opposite. I think it's exactly the opposite. The fact that you're not hearing anything, I think there's something happening.
Okay.
I think they've, and I mean, Rachel had already kind of said, which I was kind of shocked. Well, not shocked. I guess I was a little surprised that I think both him and Dave at some point had said there's a few people we're taking a closer look at, and we brought them
Right.
in. So, and I think that entails they're not if they got somebody that they're interested in. I don't think it's like, come on down and let's hear you sing a couple songs.
Yeah.
I think it's like, let's bring this guy in. Let's hang
Yep.
out with him for 3 or 4 days.
Yep.
Let's go to eat with him. Even if, and they probably are not going to a public restaurant. They're probably
Right.
having them over at Snake or Rachel's house. They're probably eating. They're probably hanging out, having some beers, probably singing, playing around with some acoustics. They're probably going into a rehearsal room. And again, maybe they're not even doing it at a studio because they don't want a lot of other people knowing if they're
Yep.
walking in and out. Maybe they set up a setup in Rachel or Snake's basement with some PA and they're like, hey, let's spend a few days with this guy.
Yeah.
They're not gonna, and again, if they hang out with him for an afternoon and the guy comes off like where they're like, okay, this is not the guy, they're sending him home. But if everything's okay, they're hanging out with him for 3 or 4 days or 5 days. Maybe they already
Sure.
had a guy there for a weekend and they sent him home and they flew him back a second time, And whoever's in their camp, I can tell you this, it's zip your
Yeah.
effing lip.
Totally.
And the fact that it hasn't leaked is pretty amazing in its own right. You know, there might be a few people close to the vest that know, but I think that they're getting close, or maybe they have a couple of people that they're literally narrowing it down to 2 or 3. It could have been like, and could it be somebody that, hey, look at this guy from wherever, you know, he's amazing, or was it somebody that, hey, dude, why don't you check this guy out, you know? I don't think it's going to be, you know, I saw when Jizzy left, people were like, Jizzy's going to Skid Row.
No.
I don't think that's happening.
No.
I don't think that. I don't think they want to, you know, no diss to Jizzy, but I don't think they want a guy who's, you know, a year and a half away from celebrating his 70th birthday to be their new singer. Hey, now let's make a new record and go on tour, you know? Like, I don't think they're looking to put a 70-year-old. I would think that they're taking a guy that's 20, 25 years younger. You know,
and I like Jizzy, but I don't hear Jizzy's voice and think there's a guy who can do I Remember You or 18 in Life. Maybe the harder stuff, sure.
Yeah.
But where I think it's a bad look is I really do not think that whoever gets it is gonna be somebody who did one of those Sweetwater auditions. I could be wrong, but they made a big deal about these Sweetwater auditions, and I think it's going to be somebody like you said, hey, I got a guy you should check out, or a guy who was in maybe a known band who's like, dude, hey, I'll try out. I'm not doing your fucking YouTube shit because I'm not going to subject myself to that. But I'll try out. And they're like, all right, this is so, you know, they do this Sweetwater thing. It's this big deal. And they get all of these people that try out. And then the guy who gets it is going to be somebody that wasn't associated. That's what I think is going to happen.
But I don't think the Sweetwater idea was a bad thing. It really put, you know, it put their name out there in a big way across every platform. When did they launch it? Last year? Right? About a year ago?
I think it was at the beginning of this year, was it? Or maybe at the end of last year? Yeah, somewhere around
so
there.
it's been out there for a while. You know, it was it's been the better part of a year that the stuff's been. And so I think that it was a good idea to get the name out there to just reach a lot of people. You know, and the thing is this, you know, it's like it's 2026. The music industry is in a position, is at a point where it's not 1980, it's not 1990, it's not even 2000. You know, I mean, we're 50 years removed from our country celebrating, you know, the bicentennial birthday in 1976. And then, you know, a handful of years later, it's MTV launches, then MTV dies, then grunge goes away, then it's 2000, Y2K, you know. And now we're screaming towards 2030. We're a third of the way through the century. And all of these bands all of these people that watch this channel or go to Blabbermouth and Metal Sludge and Brave Words, we're absolutely a dying breed. You know?
Of course.
So when the Quiet Riots or the Warrants or whoever are out there, you know, what's weird, and I've talked about this before in regards to tribute bands, which there's some people that don't like them, you know? Some musicians or fans will be like, oh, I hate tribute bands or they're stupid. When I joined Tough in 1987 and I came out to Los Angeles, there was a couple of tributes that were playing around this area. There was a guy named Randy Hansen who did a Jimi Hendrix tribute.
Okay.
And at the time, I thought he was an old guy. You know, he was probably like 32 or something, you know, but he seemed old. You know, and of course, we've had Elvis impersonators for a long time. Elvis died in 1977. And then at some point, even into the 80s, we had some Kiss tribute bands, but they were ones that were wearing all the makeup and all the costumes. And guys literally had tinfoil on their arms. And, you know, they had the tinfoil backdrop. And, Paul and Gene would be doing the choreography. And people would go like, hey, we're going to go see this Kiss tribute band. They dress up in the costumes and everything. Even some of them being super cheesy. You know, like they'd be like, oh, the Gene's really good, but the Ace is horrible. You know, the guy would be all fat with a silver wig on playing the guitar. You know, so, but my point is, there was no tribute to Motley Crue in 87. The band was only 6 years old. There was no tribute to Bon Jovi in 1988. Bon Jovi had only had a handful of records out. But now we're 20 or 30 or 40 years removed from that. And now guys are dying off. And there are tributes to all these. I mean, there's Metallica tributes that draw huge numbers. There's Nirvana tributes that draw huge crowds. Play 1,000-seaters. Even
Yep.
Steve Brown started doing Always Jovi. He's done a handful of shows, and a few of them have been in front of 1,000 people. I think their first show they sold 920 tickets or something. That's literally quadruple what Trickster sells, and it was their first show for him to do that. So the tribute band, even the Blue Man Group, and then TSO, and Raiding the Rock Vault, and Hairball, and the Arena Rock Show, and some of these have really taken on a new life for itself. I remember Dee Schneider talking about, I think it was Hairball that he saw, and he goes, "This guy is doing my thing," wearing, they got the clothes, the big blonde wig, he had the bone, and they'd come out in front of 2,000, 3,000 people. And Dee Schneider, if he went out and played on his own, he probably couldn't sell 750 tickets on his own. If Twisted Sister got together, they'd sell a certain amount of tickets. But if they put on the costumes, they'd sell even more tickets. And I think at some point when they did some of the reunion shows, and then the drummer had passed away, and then they did some of their last big shows, I think were in New Jersey. And if I remember right, I don't think they even sold out,
Right.
So, and it wasn't like it was a 25,000 seat arena either. It was like, they
Right.
5,000 people or 3,000 people or whatever it was. In Europe, they've got a bigger brand. But I think the tribute thing is a good thing. And I think the bands that are dying, at some point there's going to be replacements. Like you said, foreigners out there. Journey found a guy singing karaoke in the Philippines. At some point, Judas Priest, took Tim the Ripper Owens out of a Judas Priest tribute band playing in Akron, Ohio. So at some point, we're going to have to accept the fact that some of our favorite bands are no longer.
Totally.
And if somebody's going to help them carry on, whether it's Alex Grassi and the guys in Quiet Riot, or Eric and Jerry with Warrant, or whoever's going to be the next singer in Skid Row, there's all different ways to go about it. And I'm sure when people first asked Journey with Neil Schon, you're going to take this Filipino guy, this little tiny looking Asian guy who was singing karaoke in a bar in the Philippines, and you're going to put him on stage in America singing these classic songs that the entire country grew up on? This is insane. But he did it. They took a chance, and as good as the guy sang, over the last 20 years, they've played literally to sold out. They've played to 30 and 40 and 50,000 people in a stadium, and everybody's enjoying it. Steve Perry's at home, he doesn't want to do it, and probably couldn't do it that much anymore. That's my 2 cents.
No, you're exactly right. We only have a few minutes left, and not that we can't go over, but I'd like to get to some of these questions.
And we can go over a little bit. Let's go.
No, we know. Yeah, we can go over a few minutes. So let me get to, okay. Quake just wanted to donate. So thanks a lot, man. That's very cool. I appreciate that. Is this Allison? Allison, is it Skank Neurotic? Is that Allison? I'm not sure if it is. Allison Masson. The Metal Babe.
Metal Babe? I don't think it is.
Okay, maybe not. I'll be at all those whiskey shows at the end of the year except LA Guns on New Year's Eve. I will be at all those shows. Here's Hard Rocking Trivia Show. It says, Guru, Adrian Vandenberg had to pull out of Monsters on the Mountain per doctor's orders. I did see another comment. It wasn't Tom Kiefer wasn't at the mountain. I just had thought that Kiefer was at the mountain, but Adrian Vandenberg pulled out. So that's who Karabi replaced. Somebody thinks that you probably peed yourself, Stevie. Just kidding. Let's see. Here's another super chat. Thank you. John Byrne says, maybe I should read these beforehand. Bach ain't worth the time or energy to even talk about, but I'm still going to wear a tough shirt on the cruise for the photo op. And I know he meant TUFF. So John Byrne.
That's John Byrne. He's the Maiden guy from New York. What's up, John?
Awesome. Nice burp. So I burped in a video like last week, and because I completely forgot that I was in a video. We were doing a round table, and I'm like, shit, I just burped. But sometimes you get so comfortable doing this stuff that you kind of forget where you're at. Schneitz.
Burped again. I'll take
Good
the money.
call.
We'll take the money, Schneids.
We'll take the money, Schneid. Schneid says, here's a super chat because I just figured out how to do a super chat. Anthony, I only have small and medium Exciter shirts. I have lost some weight, so I might be able to do a medium. I'm just fucking with you. I need a large. So, Schneid's kick ass, man. Thank you. You're awesome. Me and Jeremy were talking about how great it was hanging out with you, how nice you are, hanging out with you in Los Angeles. So, anyway, awesome.
I did
And we
some
got
super chats in the past. I went on Jason Green's show, and him and Johnny Monaco were out to eat, and they were making jokes about people paying for their dinner, and I made a comment because I think they were literally at a Denny's, and I said, "Here, next one's on me. Go somewhere nicer." And I actually super chatted them $50. So maybe
Okay,
somebody will super chat us $50 so you and me can go to a nice dinner.
there you go. Hey, Stevie, speaking of going out for dinner and super chats, here's a good idea.
You owe
Because
me a dinner because I paid
do-
for your. That's right. You and
I do
Jeremy
owe you
me
a dinner, and I can't wait to pay you back. We should do. I like watching these fucking like Beard meets food. These guys who eat like outrageous amounts of food. I don't know why.
Oh, you mean
But-
the guys that eat like 50 Whoppers in 5 minutes
Yes.
or something? Yeah,
Yes.
I watched those too.
Oh, geez. So here's a good idea, and not that we're trying to get more super chats, but I'll cheat on my diet for a day, and we'll pick a food, and we'll eat it during the episode, and whoever eats the most gets all the super chat money for the day.
Well,
Isn't that a good idea?
well, Jason and Wednesday and Sean over there at their channel, they've done a bunch of those. They'll go buy they're doing all these videos about, I don't know, movies and stuff. So when there's a movie, you buy whatever the meal is at McDonald's for whatever that movie is. They'll go buy it. And Wednesday's got some weird hang-ups on certain foods he doesn't like, but they'll all talk about the burger or the sauce or the whatever, the dips, and then they compare it. And I've watched a few of those. What do they call it? Like mukbang? Some of those, like the fat woman that goes and eats all the Hardys or the Carl's Jr. I've seen a few of those.
Stephanie says man versus food. Is that what?
Yeah, something
You
like
might?
that. Actually,
Okay.
Stephanie sees Man versus Food every Friday and Saturday when I'm at her house.
Right.
Because
I think that's a
we're
good
watching the
idea.
UFC, every time I get up from the couch, she's like, "Where are you going?" And I'm in the kitchen opening the refrigerator and the cupboards and eating everything in her house.
If I ever when I cheat on my diet, I get like a big, huge pizza and I eat as much as I can. So like we could do something like that. I think that's a good idea. Just throwing it out there.
I wouldn't be opposed to that.
Okay. All right. Here we got a couple more. Shauna Parker says, "Love you guys and getting to relive the music and memories of my younger days. I just turned 50 a week ago. Shauna, happy birthday. Great little corner of YouTube. I love hearing stuff like that. I love when Stevie yawns when I'm talking. Just kidding, Stevie.
I know. I don't know why I'm so tired. I'm drinking this Red Bull, but I didn't sleep the best the last couple of nights.
Yeah. But Shauna, when people say like listening to you guys like brings me back to the good old days, that's to me is the greatest compliment ever. So thank you, and thank you for that super chat. Really, really appreciate it.
Ditto.
And-
I second that.
And we got a couple more, and then we'll wrap it up. SM6194, since they are friends and polar opposites, can you imagine conversations about this between Sebastian and Michael Monroe? Yeah, Michael Monroe seems very laid back, and Sebastian Bach seems very high strung. So, yeah, interesting. And we got one more. John Byrne says, "Stevie, I will buy you dinner on the cruise at the buffet." And I think that's funny because doesn't the buffet come with the cruise?
The buffet is actually free.
Okay.
But that's okay.
Awesome. Okay. So we can wrap it up. Stevie, I was going to point out next week, tribute to Janie Lane, the 15th anniversary of the death of Janie Lane. All positive. It's not going to be anything about any negative stuff. We do have a couple of special guests lined up. We're not going to announce it now, but probably when we get towards the end of the week and we start promoting episode number 13,
Yep.
we'll probably announce it then. But trust me, it's going to be a couple good guests on the 18th. You'll find out what we are going to do on the 18th when we do our show on the 11th. But we
Yep.
have a couple of cool guests lined up for the 18th
18th as
as
well.
well. So Stevie, what do you got coming up? Anything that you want to? I know you have some shows in Ohio. If you want
Yep.
to let people know about things that are coming up for you.
Well, so for the next month and a half, 2 months, there's nothing going on in August or September as far as me performing anywhere. I was going to mention it to Stephanie. Actually, Ricky Rocket's band is playing at the Whiskey, I think, next Friday. So maybe
Okay.
Stephanie and I will go to the Whiskey and check out the Rocket Mafia.
Awesome.
And Stacy Blades is in the band. Who's is it? Yeah, Brandon singing. And then who's the bass player? I'm not sure if it's going to be Tyson Leslie. I mean, I think they've had a few different guys. But
I forgot.
So might go check that out. But in October, it's going to be a busy month for me. I will be going to Brazil probably around the 6th, and I have 4 shows and an in-store. And this time I'll be playing in Rio de Janeiro for the first time ever. This will be my 7th or 8th trip to South America. And I've played Sao Paulo every time I've been to Brazil. I played Curitiba several times in Belo Horizonte. I'm also playing Sorocaba, which is a suburb kind of outside of Sao Paulo, if I'm not mistaken. And then playing in Rio de Janeiro is going to be a really cool deal. I've never been to Rio before. Then I'll be home for probably less than a week, and Stephanie and I are taking a vacation in Mexico. I believe it's
for you.
Playa del Carmen or something. So that's going to be fun. Tough will also be going to Ohio in December, and we're going to have 3 events. We're going to be doing a VIP event similar to what we did here in LA on Thursday, December 3rd in the greater Cleveland area. Then on Friday the 4th, we're playing at Slim and Chubby's, which is in Strongsville, a suburb southwest of Cleveland. And then on Saturday the 5th, we'll be playing at MVP's in Cincinnati for Kenny Ozfest, which is a annual festival that happens in the first week of December. We played it once or twice before. It's been probably, I don't know if it's been 10 years, but it was definitely before the pandemic. So we'll be in the Cincinnati area. There could be some stuff happening in Wisconsin and or Texas. Those are basically on the chopping block right now, trying to figure those out. So, and there's a few other things that I'm working on for the end of the year, but I won't just. It's not that I can't. I don't want to jinx myself. If I say something, if you say, we're going to do this, and then it doesn't happen,
Right.
then somebody goes, I thought you were going to do that, So I don't want to put the cart before the horse. So really, it's Brazil, it's Ohio, going to Mexico, and there's some other events. We're going to go see Wednesday 13 when he comes to town. I think it's the first week of October before I leave. Stephanie and I are going to go check that out.
Awesome.
And we have other friends that are playing around, so we'll probably pop into a couple shows. And what about you, Anthony? What's going on with you? In a couple 3 weeks.
Well, first of all, I just want to remind everybody that I have my own radio show on Rock
Awesome.
101 KLOL out of Houston, Texas, every Saturday night at 5 p.m. Pacific. No, 4 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Central Time. I host Hair Metal Mansion. I very rarely play singles. I try to play obscure stuff. And so it's rock and talk. So anyway, and the link to that is down in the description. In 3 weeks, in 17 days, I'll be flying from Fargo to Knoxville, Tennessee. Patrick and I are going to meet at the airport. We're going to drive to Gatlinburg, meet up with Mike and Jones from Hanging with Drummer Boy Jones for the 3-day Monsters on the Mountain. Epic lineup, 3 days of rock concerts, can't wait for that. I'm going to be bringing merch that I'm going to just try to give away that Jason Moit, my buddy from Laser and Grave, is going to be sending me some stuff. So after that, I
And
also
hey,
plan.
and
Yeah,
hey,
go ahead.
Shout out to April and Larry
Yes.
at the Monsters on the Mountain because they're hooking your ass up.
Yes.
So
Yes. April Howard, thank you reaching out and making that happen, and also talking about April and Larry Moran work on the Monsters of Rock cruise, and I think we're going to be able to get some access next year, which is May 6th through the 11th. That leaves
It's
from
gonna be
Los
awesome.
Angeles, so
Yep.
can't wait for that. But after Monsters on the Mountain, I do plan on going to see Wednesday 13 in Nebraska. So I can't remember the date I was looking, but he has a date in Nebraska, so I plan on going to that. And then just the last thing is again, I'll be in LA at the end of the year, and for all those run of shows, it's May 20 or April, fuck May, April, whatever. It's December 26th through the 31st. A huge
Yep.
run of awesome shows. And then I'm like I'm keeping my eyes out for other opportunities to go to shows and hang out with people. So follow us on all our social media. Stevie, thanks for coming on for episode number 12. We were over 300 viewers today. The
Awesome.
thing is amazing. You're fucking a great friend, and I love doing these with you and all this stuff. So thanks for coming on, man.
And it seemed like just last week we were announcing you were at 20,000 subscribers. Now you're over 21.
Yep. Yeah.
Probably by the end of the month, early next month, you're going to be clipping close to 25. The channel's growing, lots of fans. Thank you to everybody that sends messages through all the social media, and of course hit the Sludge, hit my store, whatever you order. I'm always down to throw in some goodies, and I appreciate all the little notes. Love all the fans, love all the support. I wish I had more shows to announce. People are like, "Why aren't you playing here? Why don't you come there? Why don't you come?"
Yeah.
You know, it's not always my choice. If you got a promoter that really wants us to come and puts us on a show, trust me. If the money's right and the schedule's open, we're there. You know. So, but we can't say, "Hey, Kansas City, we're coming. Where's the bar at?" You know, like we need to
Right.
we need to get a promoter to properly involve us. And here we are. Show number 12 in the books.
I just want to point out that I wish my computer is all hooked up by cords. If I could, I'd turn my computer around because you would see Charlie sitting there staring at me. She's laying on the couch and one of her ears is flopped over her head. And it's the cutest fucking thing ever. You would not even believe it. So,
She probably wants to take a dump.
Charlie, you want to go for a walk after this? Yeah, we're going to go poop in the neighbor's yard. Again, here she comes. Yes, go. Come on over here. Just come say hi real quick. Come here. Come here. Charlie, I'm going to try to lift her head up. There you go.
How much
Make an
does
appearance.
Charlie weigh? How much does Charlie weigh?
I'm guessing like
100 pounds?
no,
80,
45, 50.
Nah,
think.
she's more than that. She's got a huge head.
No, I mean,
Way
she has
more
a
than
big
40
head.
pounds.
But
She's not
been
even my
working out.
dog. I'll bet you right
She's
now
been
your
working
dog
out.
weighs way more than 40 pounds.
Yeah, you trying to say you're chubby? You're not very chubby. You're very pretty. Isn't that right?
What kind of dog is she? A golden retriever?
Golden Retriever.
75 pounds minimum.
I don't.
That
think?
head is 15 or 20 pounds. There's no way she's 40
Your head's
pounds.
not too big. It's okay. All right. Well, shit. Whatever. Okay. Hey, go down in the description. You're going to find the link to the Sludge store, to Metal Sludge. You'll find the link to my Spotify. If you want to buy Charlie a dog biscuit, you'll find the link to Rock 101 KLOL. You'll find the link to Metal Sludge and all that stuff. We really do appreciate you guys being here. Seriously, I mean that. Hey, until the next week's show, my name is Anthony, but they call me the Guru. You take care of yourselves.
Middle chaos with the Guru and Rachelle.
Later.